Boys and girls, welcome to a Thanksgiving week edition of 543. As always, I'm alongside my colleague Vince Rodimer. I'm Josh Sickles. Today we're going to talk some BCS implications and some NFL, but first we'll start off with college football as probably the premier game of championship week. We'll preview it a few weeks early in the SEC as it is locked in that Alabama and Florida will go head-to-head. Winner will win the conference, and the loser will probably be subjected to an at-large bid. My question to you, Vince, is who do you like in this game?
I like Florida. Florida hasn't lost in over a year. They didn't lose Alabama last year, although some people thought they were going to. Alabama's not as good this year. They don't have a very good quarterback. McElroy's not bad, but he's not as good as John Parker Wilson was. Mark Ingram's the same player he was last year. Not very different. Tim Tebow's on a mission. He's going to win. He's going to win this game, and it's not going to be close.
I agree with you. Tim Tebow is the X factor, for any team. But I really do like Alabama. I think that in recent weeks, Alabama has shown defensively that they can play with anybody in the country, including a team like Florida. And Mark Ingram, in my opinion, number one guy in the Heisman race right now. He can, without a doubt, grind you to death, and he can put that team on his back and carry them. And I worry about if Florida gets up, that they're not going to be able to run the ball effectively, run the clock out. But if Alabama is playing ahead, they have Mark Ingram they can give the ball to time and time again, and he will run the clock out, no question. I like Alabama.
I think if you look back a couple weeks at our show, I believe we both agreed on Tim Tebow as a Heisman winner.
Well, I don't know what's changed. That's a good thing because Mark Ingram has just been running outstanding. Whereas Tim Tebow's numbers have fluctuated throughout the season and fluctuated in the last few weeks where he's been, okay. A lot of people are giving him a lot more credit just because he is Tim Tebow, and he definitely changes the game. But in my opinion, Mark Ingram has been consistent from day one, and that consistency has just gotten stronger. And I like what he is doing because he is the driving force behind that Alabama offense.
Tim Tebow drives the Florida offense to the championship game every year, so I think he wins. But we'll see when it gets here.
I was about to say we'll have to save that for the Heisman debate that we have later because we were just talking about the SEC championship game. We want to get into the Heisman debate. We'll do that at a different time. So Florida, Alabama, regardless, is going to be a great game. Now we'll move on to what would be another great game if it was on the schedule. Unfortunately, it's not. After Week 11 in the NFL season, there are two undefeated teams left, both at 10-0, the Indianapolis Colts and the New Orleans Saints. Vince, which team is better?
The Indianapolis Colts are better. They're better on offense. Defense is comparable. The Saints' defense is causing more turnovers, scoring more points. But the Colts' defense, is playing well enough to win games. They had a pretty nice stand in the Ravens game that helped them win. They held Ray Rice to relatively subpar numbers, at least by his standards. So I think the Colts are the better team here. They have the better quarterback. They might not have the better defense, but when it counts, their defense is there.
When it counts, their defense is there, but you got to look at, we don't have any basis to go off for that. A defense that has been there throughout the entire season and throughout the entire past decade, just with different teams, is New Orleans Saints defense. I think that they are the better team for that reason. When you look at Greg Williams, over the last 10 years, he has coached some of the best defenses in the league. He had those Washington defenses, which were top 5 in the league for years and years and years. I'm still confused why they didn't make him the head coach or at least keep him on as a coordinator. But Redskins' loss is New Orleans Saints' gain. When you look at that team, I think that defensively they're absolutely outstanding. Offensively, they can play with anybody in the league, but I think that it's still defense. The Colts, I'm still not convinced. They've played well in general, but you look at a Ravens offense that only was able to score 16 points against the Cleveland Browns, and you're bragging about stopping them. I don't really see that as a fulfilling argument. I just think that the Saints' defense is a lot better, and the Colts' defense would have a lot of problems with the Saints' offense.
The same Ravens offense that was putting up numbers at will at the beginning of the year on anyone.
But it's not the same team.
It's the same players, same team.
It's not the same skill level. You can't say that they're static throughout the year.
They've gotten better, actually. Rice has gotten better.
How can you say they've gotten better? Well, Ray Rice
is better than Willis McGahee.
That's not the argument.
So their offense is better because Ray Rice is better.
Their offense is putting up less points against weaker defenses. The Cleveland Browns, one of the worst defenses in the league, they only put up 16 points. How can you say that's better? That's a step back.
That's not always indicative of how good they are, how many points they score on certain teams.
Usually whatever you score against a team and how many you let up, and then that gives you a win or loss. That's usually indicative of how good you are. So I don't know what you're basing this off of.
It's different games, different teams, different results.
All right. Well, regardless, I'm going with the Saints. He's going with the Colts. To end the show today, this mini show we'll do, we're going to go look at the BCS. As we all know, 6 BCS conferences. The winner of each conference gets an automatic bid in. Also, a non-BCS team who is within the top 12 of the BCS standings gets the automatic bid. So right now you're looking at the 6 conferences, plus TCU would get the automatic bid. There's 3 at-large bids out there left. Vince, what are your 3 at-large bids?
3 at large for me are going to be Alabama because they're going to lose the SEC title game. Then you're going to have who's that team? Boise State. Good team. No losses. They beat Oregon, possibly the Pac-10 champ Oregon. And then you have a third team that I don't feel should be there. It doesn't deserve it. They're going to get embarrassed again. Penn State. They have a fan base that draws big games. So I think they're going to end up there. Like I said, they don't deserve it. But they'll end up lucking into it.
Well, Lightning's going to strike twice because I completely agree with, except for one team. I think that Florida's going to lose the SEC championship game, so I put Florida in there as the at-large. But then I also agree with Boise State and with Penn State. But I think that regardless of whether or not Penn State deserves it, I don't see you naming a team over them that would deserve that spot. The only team that I could see possibly doing that, skill-wise, is if Cincinnati were to lose to Pitt on December 5th. Pitt gets the automatic bid. I could see Cincinnati as a one-loss team, and their only loss is to Pitt, who wins the Big East. I could see them being getting a bid in there because they deserve it over Penn State. But other than that, I don't see a team out there that you would. Who would you put in over there?
That would be an ideal scenario. If it was a close loss for Cincinnati, they would go.
Even if they get blown out.
If they get blown out, they would still be more deserving than Penn State because Penn State sucks.
All right, well, you can't just say that. You got to back it up.
Penn State lost to a backup quarterback on a mediocre team. I think that says that they don't deserve it, but I don't know. Maybe you like backup quarterbacks.
Who exactly are you talking about?
I was backup.
What do you mean? Ricky Stanzi played that game.
Okay, that was Ohio State. Well, they lost to a mediocre Iowa quarterback who threw 3 interceptions. Same thing. Ricky Stanzi's a mediocre quarterback.
That's one loss, but I mean that's just one loss.
So they lost another game too.
All right, so let's put it this way: if Pitt loses and they become a 2-loss team, do you see them deserving over Penn State?
Yeah, because they lost to a conference champion.
And they also lost. Their second loss was to a mediocre team, NC State, who is well below 500 at the basement of the ACC, and just is a terrible team in general.
Different scenario. That was a non-conference game early in the season. A road game.
Penn State was a conference game early in the season against a team that is very, very high in the BCS rankings. People are talking about them being in the BCS as opposed to Penn State.
Are we talking about Iowa here?
Yeah.
Iowa's not that good. They've shown it.
Their rankings show otherwise.
They haven't shown on the field. When you don't throw a touchdown pass and win a game, a very ugly game, I don't think you're a very good team.
But you can't base it off of because they won consistently. They might have won ugly, but it counts for wins. And when you got a team that was as high as 4th in the BCS rankings, you can't just ignore that.
Right.
And say that you can't just say this sucks and then
rankings are subjective, and I think there could have been teams that were higher than them. I think there are a lot of teams that should have been higher than them there. Cincinnati was one, who I think is better than Iowa. So I think that's where we're at there.
Well, luckily the BCS selections are out of our hands, or else we'd be at an impasse, but we'll wait to see what happens for championship week. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. Hope everybody has a happy and safe Thanksgiving holiday week and weekend, and we will see you back here next week. For Vince, I am Josh. This comes to an end, another edition of 543. Take care, everybody.